because for once I think it's the first time someone is trying to define what does it mean to be trustworthy within the tech industry.
So I would say that this is a really good set of considerations to think about when you're just starting up a company or when you're building your startup at an early stage.
Well, I thought it was a really useful experience for us, and certainly as an early stage company, we've still got various areas to, I won't necessarily improve on, but build on.
It had like sort of cartoon characters of different people with like various different types of disability, and it's like, how would this kind of person use your service, and how would this kind of person use your service? And that was a bit of a like, moment for me.
And the one I particularly liked was the unforeseen consequences, because that wasn't one I'd seen in quite the same way from other bodies that had looked at this.
I think that certainly what kind of came out most particularly was around the grading, the environmental grading of your website and sort of the environmental impact, and that was a really useful tool that we started using more. So actually thinking about, well, what does my website have as an environmental impact, because you don't really think of that, it's in the cloud.
My main takeaway from the program was that there's so much that we haven't even thought about yet.
It was great for us over that whole sort of 8-week period to have a continual, really refreshing look. It forced 10 or 15 people across the company to look at something a bit like in a Rubik's Cube in a slightly different way. And the exercises were great as well in terms of just refreshing our thinking.
So I think certainly having exercises and visual guides was really helpful. In particular for us, we still use the value proposition. It's on our wall in the office, for instance, from that exercise.
It would still get me thinking about how can we apply this to what we do, and how can we hopefully one day sort of pass on some of what we learned to the teams that we support.
It kind of pushed us to think a little harder in certain areas and to fill in the gaps.
People who are trying to spend their pounds in a more responsible way, and realising that they have power in where they spend their money, and you can vote and make change with where and who you buy from, and if people start buying from companies and operations that have a sort of a more holistic definition of success and a more rounded view of the world, and us sort of trying to be a force for good, then that will drive other businesses to behave in a more positive way.
And what we're hoping is that through this and new bodies like the Ethics and AI Committee that are forming in the UK, there will be more scrutiny and more dialogue, and this will just become how you do good business.
Actually going through the process and with the sort of 10 like different areas within responsible tech, I actually think it did influence our principles, and I think there are a lot of things in there around usability and accessibility that like shone through perhaps more so than they would have done if we hadn't have gone through this exercise.
I'm looking forward to being able to say that the Trustworthy Tech programme was a starting point of something very special.